Welcome to my weekly Monday Q&A session where I answer your weekly questions. I will try to answer as many questions as I can. If I don't answer your question, don't take it personally. Got quite a load quite a load here. So I'm going to dive right in. Tunis Zoo, which teams do you think can be black horses in this World Cup? I assume you mean dark horses. Well, there's quite a few number. I think that if Serbia finally live up to expectation and don't perpetually disappoint as they always do in World Cups, I think they could do something. Um, Mexico's always threatening to break into that fifth game. With the round of 16 has always been their ceiling for the most part, especially in the last 7 World Cups consecutively. So maybe Mexico can do something. Other potential dark horses, I think look out for Nigeria. I think they can get to the quarterfinals. And I would say Peru because they're back at the World Cup after such a long time and they have nothing to lose. So, Luigi Smash, who is the best player outside of Europe and South America? Someone answered your question saying probably George Weah, then you responded, or Hugo Sanchez. I like Roger Mila. I really like Roger Mila. What he did in the late '80s and early '90s with the Cameroon national team. I think he was quite an exceptional player. And I think the best African team that we've seen in the last 20 to 25 years is probably the '94 Super Eagles of Nigeria team. That team was just loaded. They should have gone farther than they did in those 2 World Cups. Best Arab player is Salah, Jonathan Duro. It's not a question. Okay. Azuke49, who will be Mexico's most important player for them to succeed in the World Cup? I thought about going with Carlos Vela, but I think it's going to be Chucky Lozano. I think that he is one of my 3 or 4 top candidates to be breakout star of the tournament this summer. I think Herving Chucky Lozano is going to be their most important player for Mexico. Thomas Metropoulos, who do you think the next USA manager should be? Before he had such a bad season, I would have went with Jose Mourinho, but I think in the last couple of years, Mourinho's brand of football has been sort of found out. You can talk to the Have Hope Football Hut on that because I think he's more of an expert on Jose Mourinho than I am. I know that he loves Jose Mourinho. But who I think should be the U.S. manager now? I think the U.S. the U.S. national team right now is going through a transition year. We didn't qualify for the World Cup, so it's kind of gray, 2018, and there's a lot of uncertainty. I think right now what the U.S. needs is probably an interim manager. We have an interim manager at the moment in David Sarachan, and I heard rumors that Tab Ramos, a former goalkeeper, may come in temporarily. I think we need a temporary coach just to see us through the rest of the year, and then we worry maybe 2019 about getting a permanent manager. So I'd be fine with Tab Ramos for now, though I would not want him to stay at the job permanently, which seems to be what he wants to do. I'm not in favor of that. Do you Harvey Fellertom? Do you think that Russia 2018 will be a high scoring World Cup like 2014? Or low scoring like Euro 2016 and the 2010 World Cup? I think it will be low scoring as a lot of defensive teams this year, and VAR will probably rule out a lot of goals that previously would have stood. I think Russia 2018 is going to be somewhere in between South Africa 2010 and Brazil 2014. I don't think we're going to get as many goals as Brazil 2014. We won't get as many goals, but I do think we're going to get more goals than South Africa 2010. And even though it's a World Cup on European soil, a lot of people are like worried that it might be defensive or boring, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be an exciting World Cup 2018. ELG Gaming YT. Kosovo beat Burkina Faso 2-0 in a friendly. Do Do you think Kosovo can qualify for Euro 2020 with the help of the UEFA Nations League? Well, Kosovo's in League D, so they're in a league that's guaranteed to get one spot at Euro 2020. I think Kosovo can do it. I mean, they're a Balkan region nation. There's a decent amount of talent from there. A lot of Albanian Kosovars ply their trade in the Swiss league as well as the Switzerland national team. I think Kosovo. I do not consider them a minnow. I consider them about one step above a minnow. I think they can absolutely do it. They don't face very, very stiff competition in UEFA Nations League Group D. I think there's probably only maybe about 5 other teams, 5 or 6, that are on their level or better than them. Also from ELG Gaming YT, you're Egypt and I'm from Nigeria and DR Congo. If Egypt against one of us, who do you think will win? I think Nigeria would probably win. And DR Congo, I think we could beat Congo just because I think maybe they're a little bit inexperienced. And they showed that against Tunisia in qualification, but DR Congo is still the better team. So I think we would probably lose to both of them. Also from ELG Gaming YT, what nation would you like to see host this year's World Cup instead of Russia? I don't mind Russia hosting it, just as long as there's no scandal or anything. And do you think Russia would have qualified for the World Cup if they did not host it? I don't think so. I really don't. I do think that they've shown signs of improvement since the 2017 Confederations Cup, but I think that they would not have qualified. I just think they're a little bit too weak for the rest of Europe. Crazy Chicken, do you think we'll get any controversial moments at the World Cup? Of course, we're going to get some controversial moments, both on the pitch and off the pitch. I just hope that Egypt is not on the receiving end of any of that in an adverse way. Markian Ramchuk, do you think Ukraine has a chance of winning their group in the UEFA Nations League? They are with Slovakia and the Czech Republic. Yeah, that's a winnable group for Ukraine, and they should win that group. They're the best team in that group. If they don't win it, I think Slovakia will probably get it. But I think Ukraine should just about take it. Markian Ramchuk again. Oh, sorry. Sutton Explorer. As this is the World Cup, the first World Cup with 3 teams from the Nordic region, which Nordic team do you think will go the furthest in the World Cup? What are the chances of a winner, runner-up, semifinalist, and quarterfinal from the region? So you have Denmark, Iceland, and Sweden make it. As of now, I don't have either of the 3 Nordic nations advancing out of their groups. But if you ask me who is the best contender, I think to go on a run, I think you have to look at the group that they're in as well as the group that is next to them. For example, Sweden are with Germany and Mexico. And if Sweden get out of that group, they most likely have to play Brazil in the round of 16. So it's looking like the round of 16 is Sweden's limit, unless they somehow stun Germany and finish at the top of Group F, which is unlikely. So and then Iceland is in the group of death with they who must not be named, Nigeria and Croatia. So I think probably Denmark, because I think Denmark can finish in the top 2 of Group C, and then they can beat the winner of Group D, and then right there they're in the quarterfinals. Quarterfinal against Spain, Portugal, that'll be really difficult, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. When the draw first came out, I had Denmark as my surprise semifinalist. I don't have that anymore, but I think they are the Nordic team because of the side of the bracket they are on and who their opponents are and who they're immediately close to. I think Denmark has the best chance. Montasir Zidi, do you think the World Cup with 46 teams is a good idea, or will it lose its charm with the new system? So I'm one of the few analysts who support an expanded 48-team World Cup. I made a video on that several months ago. I don't agree with FIFA's specific format for it. In reasons that I'll highlight in another video because this is a very important topic. But generally speaking, yes, I do favor an expansion. Banstar MRD, my question: what Southeast Asian team can make a World Cup appearance in the future? C4 Goes Boom pretty much answered it for you. It's Thailand. They made it to the final round of Asian qualifying in the final 12 teams. I believe they're the only team from South East Asia that made it that far. So it's looking like Thailand. Luigi Smash, which World Cup do you think will enter the worst form? Oh, which team, World Cup team, do you think will enter with the worst form after the friendlies? The worst form after the friendlies. I think Panama and South Korea don't look good right now. They really don't look good at the moment. Connor Mullen, if you went to college, what did you study? Yeah, I studied criminology. Sam Kerala, thank you, Football Fair, for your answers. Here are some comments. My question about Qatar was more about the fact that Qatar is not a real football country. Supporters, the enthusiasm, etc. Wouldn't be whether Morocco or Egypt more deserving to host? I think Morocco and Egypt would be more deserving to host a World Cup, but I don't think that's what Egypt needs right now because the economy and I think Morocco would do a much better job of hosting it than we would. Footy Lad MBAC. Do you think the UEFA Nations League will be a successful model? Should other confederations follow such a model of league system? Well, to answer your second question first, other confederations are following it. CONCACAF is implementing a CONCACAF Nations League that I still have to make a video on. And we're going to see how that goes because the season for that starts, I believe, towards the end of this year. As for the UEFA Nations League, in your first question, I have no idea. I know that it garnered a lot of controversy, but a lot of people are supporting it. They're behind the idea of getting rid of friendlies and turning every single international match into some form of competition under the UEFA Nations League. I don't know if it's going to work. I do have my reservations about it, but to answer your question in the most honest way possible, I have no idea because this is an experimentation. It's the first time that it's going to be used, and we have to see how it goes. I have to give my assessment of it after the first season is over, which is going to be next year, or even 2020, I think. So I just don't know. I don't know. Blind Biker 23. If the national teams of Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and England didn't exist, and instead historically played as Great Britain, would they have had more success in the past, and would they be an overpowered team now? Honestly, I don't think it would have been that much different. I think that if Great Britain had a national team, instead of being separated into 4 countries' national teams, I think you would see at least 60% of the Great Britain national team being English. And then you would have several players from Wales, like Gareth Bale, maybe Aaron Ramsey, and then from Ireland, like, what's his name, Johnny Walters. You would have a few players from Scotland in there as well, but I think the bulk of the squad, at least half of it, would probably be English. Whether or not you'd have more success than separated, I think it'd be just about the same. It would be second tier, like second tier European side. Not among the very best, but by far, by no means among the worst either. Every single one of the national teams on the British Isles are decent. I thought Ireland were a little bit unlucky against Denmark not to qualify. England always qualifies. Scotland, they're struggling. They haven't been to the World Cup in 20 years. I mean, look at Wales. Wales has done exceptionally well. It was a little bit surprising that they didn't finish in the top 2 in their group in qualifying for the World Cup when they went to the semifinals of Euro 2016. So I think that even individually speaking, if Great Britain formed a national team that isn't just exclusive to the Olympics, as you see, every 4 years in the Summer Olympics, the Great Britain national team, I think it would be somewhere around what level the English national team is at. And I think, again, I think at least half of the players would be English. Connor Mullen, where do the Irish national team go from here? It's not looking like a promising few years. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on Irish football. I will say, though, I'm a little disappointed that your manager, Martin O'Neill, has had a few string of disappointing results, especially in qualification. It's a wonder that you reached the playoffs, even, because I remember during qualification, Ireland dropped several points at home. I believe you drew 2 or 3 matches at home when you should have won. And towards the end there, when you needed that victory against Wales, you needed to beat Wales on the road in order to get to the playoffs. I didn't think you were going to do it, but you pulled it off. So I think Martin O'Neill's tenure has been a mix of success and disappointment, because you get results like beating Italy in the Euro 2016 final group game, which brought Ireland to the round of 16 very much unexpectedly. You took the lead against host nation France. You almost beat them. I think you could have beaten them, gotten revenge for that Thierry Henry handball back in 2009. And then you have results in qualification where you get held by Georgia, or you barely pull off a victory against Moldova. I think Ireland probably need a change in manager. Who would be the right guy for the job? I have no idea. As far as the Irish youth system is concerned, again, I'm not an expert on that, so you would have to educate me on that. So that's basically how I feel. I just feel like he was at the helm for too long. He was Irish manager since, 2011. I think that's a very long period of time to have a coach. And to miss out on 2 World Cups, it's time for change. Dipanjan Dutta Roy, do you think that the 2006 Italian team was the weakest to win the World Cup? Oh, no, definitely not. That Italian side... Sorry, I keep changing location because there's construction going on in my house and it gets loud. No, I don't think the 2006 Italian national team was the weakest to win the World Cup. They're probably the best defensive team to win the World Cup in the 21st century. You look at that side, they only conceded 2 goals en route to the trophy, and one of those goals was an own goal scored against my United States team, and the other one was a penalty off the crossbar by Zinedine Zidane in the final. That defense was rock solid, and they were anchored in midfield up front by Andrea Pirlo in his absolute prime. I think that was the best I've ever seen Andrea Pirlo in. And then also you have Buffon in goal. That was also when he was at his best as well. That defense only leaked 2 suspect goals throughout the entire tournament. They could have won that tournament keeping an historic clean sheet throughout. I think they are one of the most deserving World Cup champions of the 21st century. And you look at the 4 teams that actually won the World Cup in the 21st century. The Italian team of 2006 is my favorite of those 4. So moving along, next question. Oh, and Dipanjan Dutta Roy asks me, if not, then what was the weakest team to win the World Cup? The weakest team to win the World Cup? I think in the modern era, from 1998 until 2014, that's hard because you had 2010, you had the Spanish tiki-taka. You had that ultra-defensive Italian setup from 2006. 2002, Brazil had Ronaldinho, Emerson, Cafu, Ronaldo. 2014, German team was a project that was more than a decade in the making. I guess between those 4 winners, I'm going to have to go with the German team, but put an asterisk next to the word weakest because weakest by no means weak at all. Albert Keckstein. Hey, relatively new subscriber here. Love your content. Can't wait to enjoy the World Cup with you. Thank you. Same to you. What's your favorite league in Europe, and what's your reason behind supporting Bayern Munich? My favorite league in Europe, just from an entertainment factor alone, is the Premier League, because I think that it's the most competitive league in Europe. I mean, you look at La Liga, you have 2-3 sides that dominate the top. The Bundesliga is pretty much Bayern, and maybe Dortmund or Leverkusen has a good season every now and then. I think the EPL, but also the Serie A in Italy are the two most competitive, because I think they're just more teams. They're leagues where every team can pretty much beat each other. That's why when you have a season like Manchester City in 2018, it's truly exceptional, because only once in a while does a team come around and dominate with such fortitude as they have done this season. But usually Premier League tables are much tighter than that. Why do I support Bayern? I always loved German style of playing. That extends to the German national team as well, though not as much as the German club system. I grew up, my first ever Champions League season that I watched was the 2001, where Bayern, sorry about that, where Bayern defeated Valencia. That I didn't start watching club football until 2001, and Bayern Munich basically made me fell in love with it. I always liked Bayern. Plus, I like the red, the blue, and the white colors as well. I love the whole fan atmosphere in the Allianz Arena in Munich. I just think that it's awesome. So that's why I stuck with Bayern. What are the reactions when you tell your American friends you're interested in soccer, football? A lot of them are neutral about it. I mean, a lot of them are into it as well. I mean, I'm from a state where soccer is actually very popular. My home state actually produced 3 or 4 senior men's national team players for the U.S. National side. So there's a little bit of a soccer culture going on here in my state. Some of my friends are into soccer and they're into the World Cup, so they don't really think very much when I explain it to them. Some other friends just don't like it because they're into other sports. Markian Ramchuk, do you think China will ever be a world power in football? Yeah, they will, but they're still many years behind, even behind the MLS, the Chinese Super League. You know. All right. Sorry about that. You're going to have to bear with me. There's a lot of noise going on. The Chinese Super League has more European retirees in it than the MLS does. MLS has a reputation for being a retirement league, but the Chinese Super League is still very much in development behind the U.S. And a lot of Chinese clubs, they go far in Asian club championships. I know the side Guangzhou Evergrande has won a few Asian AFC Club World Championships, AFC Asian Championships, but it's going to take a long time before China is a superpower in the sport. Their ladies' team is more noted than their men's team, just like the U.S.'s women's team is more noted than the men's team. It's going to be a while, but I think that China will get there. They're going to be a superpower in the sport, I think, within the next 50 years. Aptan, to the whole support your local team question, you should. That doesn't mean that you can't be a fan of Real or whatever. When it comes down to it, though, you will always support your local team once they are doing good, so you should support them in the thick. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just saying that, if somebody's from a country where soccer is not really a big sport, I don't see why someone who grew up in Kathmandu, Nepal, can't support Real Madrid, So, yeah. Mark Pacelli, what are your individual match predictions for Group D? Group D, I think they who must not be named will be held to a scoreless draw by Iceland. I do. I I think Nigeria and Croatia will tie each other 2-2. I think Croatia and Argentina will draw each other. I think Nigeria. Hmm, I think Iceland will beat Nigeria, but then I think Nigeria will beat Argentina, and Croatia will beat Iceland, and Croatia and Nigeria will go through. Um, so I have Argentina finishing last with 2 points. Also from Mark Baselli, did you play soccer when you were younger? What position did you play? Yeah, I did. I played left back uh, when I was skinnier, but that this was like I want to say 9 years ago, and I didn't play like semi-professionally or whatever for a team. I just played like recreational, like for a school team. Back in my freshman year of high school, and even before that, in like 7th and 8th grade. Nothing special at all. Um, the Donnie Soldier. What has been the best and most painful result in your time as a football fan? The most painful, I think, was Egypt not qualifying for 2014 World Cup, even though they won 7 out of 8 matches, lost the last match, and didn't qualify because the African qualification system for that year was really stupid. You had a group with 3 other teams, you played 6 games, and then all the group winners advanced to a playoff. And even if you won all of your games in the group, if you just lost one game in the playoff, you didn't go through. That qualification system in 2014 in Africa got a lot of criticism from people for being that cutthroat and harsh. Egypt won 7 out of 8 games and didn't qualify, so that was really heartbreaking for me. Um, the best time for me as a football fan, uh, I think I think Landon Donovan's last ditch goal against Algeria in the 2010 World Cup that sent the USA to the round of 16 at the top of a World Cup group that contained England. So that was that was very nice. I liked that. Um, Gave us a little bit of bragging rights for a little bit. But I think the greatest achievement um, was actually surviving the group in 2014 that contained Germany, Portugal, and Ghana. Uh, so yeah, C4 goes boom. What teams do you think would be the strongest candidates to make their debut in the next edition of the World Cup? I believe Zambia and Venezuela can make that happen. Zambia and Venezuela are excellent choices. I actually do think Venezuela, again, the noise, power drill. I do think Venezuela will qualify for 2022. And from Africa, in addition to your selection of Zambia, I think the DR Congo can make it. I think Uganda can make it. And I think Burkina Faso still have an opportunity to make it, as well as the Cape Verde Islands as well. I'd be on the lookout for those teams. From Asia, you could see Uzbekistan or Syria go through. Maybe sometime down the road, you can see Thailand or Vietnam make it. From CONCACAF, I think Jamaica can get back to it. Well, they qualified only once before. But I think you can see a team like maybe some up-and-coming Caribbean island nation, but that's way down the road. But for 2022, it's those teams that I just said. Saihati79-Roblox. How good is the Saudi Arabian league? And who is the best Saudi Arabian player currently? I like Salawi. I think he's probably your best player at the moment for the national team. Fahad Al Muwallad also is another crucial player. The Saudi League is one of the more competitive in West Asia. I don't think it's the best club league in all of Asia, but certainly for the Gulf Arabian countries and Western Asian countries in general, I think the Saudi League and the Iranian League are probably the two best. What's your next question? How many surprises can we get in this World Cup, and be specific which countries? Iceland, Peru, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, yes, Morocco, Tunisia, Japan, maybe Senegal again. Um, Maybe Costa Rica can do something again. Serbia, Croatia. Those are, I think, who can surprise. E. Bradley, do you think Aristide Bonts deserves to play in the Premier League? I think he's a great West African player, and I really would like to see him in a World Cup one day with Burkina Faso. But he is getting up there in age. He's almost 34 years old. And is he Premier League caliber? Yeah, but his career is sort of winding down. I only see him being around for a few more years. I don't know if he'll quite make it, though, to be honest. But I would like to see him play for a better club, and I would like him to be at a World Cup someday with Burkina Faso and the rest of the Stallions. Your next question is the Nico. I'm German, but I know it is hard to defend the title. I really think Argentina can do it. What would a World Cup win mean for Messi's career? Everything. It would mean everything. It would finally settle the debate over whether or not he's in the same league as Diego Maradona, and it could very well settle whether or not he is the greatest of all time. Some people don't believe he has to win the World Cup to be considered the greatest. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that. I feel mixed on the matter. But it will definitely settle it if he does. So it would mean everything, especially alleviating the pressure on his shoulders and the heartbreak of losing the last 3 consecutive finals in a row. And the last question. La Gloria en el Football. Hello, do you prefer national team matches or club matches? National team. I just think there's just something special about international football that you will not find in club football. Yes, the cream of the crop, the highest quality, the highest level is club football, but I think international football will always be more special. So that's it. That's it for this week's Monday Q&A. That's all of your questions. Leave a comment below, like, subscribe, submit your questions for next week, next Monday, and I will get to them, God willing. Till then, have a good one. Much love and peace.